Big news here today on this Kilmar Garcia Albrego. So he was the guy that, they deported to the El Salvadorian prison, who everybody flipped out about because you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. I mean, despite the fact that he's here illegally, despite the fact that a judge had actually prevented him from getting bail because they believed him to have ties to MS-13, despite the fact that the wife had actually filed for protection with law enforcement because she was so fearful of him being violent. So despite all that, and the fact, of course, I buried the lead, he's here illegally. Despite all that, you get the left absolutely flipping out, freaking out, wanting to make sure, of course, that they do everything they possibly can to get him back here to his happy little family there in Maryland. Except that he may not be exactly the kind of guy that they think he is. They say it doesn't matter, but you know what? It kind of does. Here's the new intel that we're just getting from DHS at this moment. He was convicted of being, or stopped at a traffic light, I should say, in Tennessee. And he was there driving a convicted smuggler's vehicle. So they got him at a Tennessee traffic stop. And he was there in the car, which was filled with 8 other people. It's presumed they were all undocumented, coming here into the U.S. This is really kind of a big deal. So one of the allegations against him is that he has been smuggling people into this country. And the left is like, no. And he's not MS-13. He's not this. He's not that. And yet this now piece of information comes out. So here's a picture of him having been stopped there. This is not good, right? Like, so he was there driving apparently with an expired license. Again, I kind of question how you can get a license as somebody who is here illegally, but in many states you can. And they let him go. Yeah. They let him go. So here's the story being reported there in the New York Post. Officers let him go with a citation for driving with an expired license. He was driving a black 2001 Chevy Suburban to Temple Hills, Maryland, to, quote, bring in people to perform construction work. This is according to the memo. Homeland Security officials found that the vehicle was owned by somebody by the name of Hernandez Reyes, who they suspected had used the SUV for human trafficking or smuggling in separate cases. Vehicle is used by HSI Baltimore Target in human smuggling trafficking operation. Vehicle makes trips to southern border to pick up non-citizens. According to the record, it was gotten by Just the News. I'm like, wow. All right. Wow. So how much proof do you guys need here? I mean, he's driving a convicted human smuggler's car. He's stopped by the cops. This is back in a Tennessee highway in 2022. He was en route to Maryland. He was there with 8 people, none of whom had any documentation on them in the car, apparently, none of whom even had luggage. And so this is of concern. He allegedly was doing this to bring people to a construction site on behalf of his boss, who turned out to be convicted of smuggling himself. They were covering this on Fox. I think it's important to see this and hear the reaction of some Democrats, because the Democrats have been like, oh, no, like this guy is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's so nice. Look, we have a problem, okay? Whether you like it or not, like there are rules, there are laws. We have a problem because we had under Biden as many as 250,000 people coming into this country, okay, every month. Take a look at that number. It was just surging under Obama had his challenges and he sent many of them home. But Biden was like, okay, come one, come all. And apparently they did. So let me go to this little bit of sound because it's important for you to hear how the Democrats are treating all this.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia. You remember him. He's in the news more than Trump these days. A new report suggests something strange was going on when he was pulled over on a Tennessee highway in 2022. The officer at the time suspected it was a human trafficking incident. And it looks like that, doesn't it? Now we're told through a DHS source that the car Abrego Garcia was driving belonged to a convicted human smuggler. This guy's really a delight. 8 other people were with him. They all used the same home address as Albrego Garcia, and no one has luggage for the drive. How do you figure that? Texas to Maryland, no luggage? Spanning multiple days, multiple states. Something is not adding up here. You put it together. No wonder Democrats are fighting so hard to get him back.
We have to have the courage to be down there and to be in places, even if we don't have the security that we need. We have to continue showing up.
We have to do everything we can right now. We went over there to try our best to see him, to make sure he's okay.
I hope other members of Congress come here and see this for themselves.
I mean, what kind of alternative universe are we in? Because you kind of had me at here illegally. I mean, then there's the wife thing and the violence there that she felt strongly enough that she needed to go and get police protection for. Then there's you got the tattoos, which are symbolic according to law enforcement of MS-13. And then there's, just the basic fact, there's this little thing that, he's here illegally. And what I don't really get is that if I go to El Salvador, or if I go to Mexico, or if I go anywhere in the world, and if I go there illegally, I don't go through passport control, I don't have the proper visa, guess what? They're going to send me home. And gosh darn, if I do something bad, that's a whole other thing. But why not just send me home, right? Why actually put the American taxpayer through the process of having to do all this? Why not just send them back to happy little El Salvador? Oh, he can't go there because this is rich. Apparently, another gang wants to chase him down. Think about that and the implications of that. They got into this the other night on CNN, and it's kind of comical. One of these women who used to work on Fox, and she's super, super liberal, but she just doesn't put like 1 + 1 together and get 2. It comes out to like 8 or something, and poor Scott Jennings is trying to deal with her. Watch.
There's due process that exists in this country for everybody, and the fact that this man had received no due process, it was effectively disappeared to a foreign country, a country which he came from, which he was basically got asylum.
It's not a foreign country. He lives there.
Excuse me, no, he does not live there.
He's a citizen of El Salvador.
Scott, excuse me, he got asylum in this country.
He's a citizen.
Scott,
does he have asylum?
Excuse me, let me finish.
No, he doesn't.
No, it's not that he. Sorry, it's not that he got asylum. He got a judge to say that he could not be.
Does he have a deportation order?
Excuse me, he could not be. Can you let me finish? He could not be. He could not be rendered back to El Salvador because he was at risk of being harmed in El Salvador. That is what a federal judge. That is what a federal judge.
By who? No, who was he at risk of?
Excuse me. That was what a federal judge said.
He
could not be deported.
He could not be.
Who could he be at risk by? I don't know.
But a rival gang.
No. Excuse me, Scott. Excuse me. Stop. Do you really believe that this guy's an MS-13 member? Because
I've got two heads of state telling me that they believe it.
Oh, okay. Your heads of state. Okay. Barack Obama said that.
I mean, again, like. It's common sense. And not that she has any. I mean, they used to put her on The View. She's Jessica Tarlow, I think, took her job. But they used to put her on The View because why? Well, she had no common sense. And that kind of worked because the left is kind of easy to poke holes through. But what's amazing to me is, right, they're controlling the majority of the media. They're controlling the majority of the narrative. And they're sitting there saying, you can't deport him, you can't deport him, you can't deport him. And I'm like, wait, so now he becomes a stress on our system? We have to go through all the legal ramifications. We can't just actually send him home to his country. I mean, maybe you don't need to send him to prison, right? You can just send him home. This was the best sound of last week. And I just have to play it again because Stephen Miller, there's no one better than him on this issue. He has spent a ton of time studying the law on this. He knows it inside and out. And he got into it with the Fox anchor. I think the Fox anchor was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was coming. But anyway, he's like, hello, the guy's from El Salvador. We sent him home. What more do you expect?
Number one, DOJ said a federal court cannot compel the executive branch to engage in any mandated act of diplomacy or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case, clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So he appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article II foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay,
Secondly,
I appreciate
he was
the
not, no, Bill, it's
clarification,
important.
that's the case.
He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's an
believe he
illegal
is a
alien
member of
from
MS?
El Salvador. Hold on, this is important. In 2019, he was ordered deported. He has a final removal order from the United States. These are things that no one disputes. Where is he from? El Salvador. Where is he a resident and citizen of? El Salvador. Is he here illegally? Yes. Does he have a deportation order? Yes. A DOJ lawyer who has since been relieved of duty, a saboteur, a Democrat, put into a filing incorrectly that this was a mistaken removal. It was not. This was the right person sent to the right place. Now, some have said, well, but he had a thing called a withholding order. So a withholding order means you've been ordered deported, but an immigration judge is saying you cannot go back to a particular country. Here's the thing. If you are a member of a foreign terrorist organization, you cannot have a withholding order. Since he's in MS-13, there is no withholding order. Furthermore, the gang that he is accused of being persecuted by doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. The 18th Street gang is gone. So you have an illegal alien from El Salvador. Bill, where are we supposed to send the illegal alien from El Salvador?
You haven't even
to
allowed
what
me
country?
to ask you a question. Are you convinced he is still a member of MS-13? That was your original charge.
Yes. But here's the thing, Bill. Yes, but here, not only am I convinced of it, not only is El Salvador convinced of it, Bill, he's an illegal alien from El Salvador with the deportation order. So his only options in life, Bill, his only options in life are to be deported to El Salvador or to be deported to some other country. That's it. He has a deportation order. So, Bill, you tell me, what country should we deport him to? Tell me, please. Tell me.
So Marco Rubio on Sunday morning said this. On Saturday night, another 10 criminals.
And that's the end of it. Hey, listen, if you've already seen that here on this show with me, thank you for humoring me. But I just think that he does such a good job at breaking that down. In other words, what else are you supposed to do with the guy? He's already been deported. He comes back in. You deport him again. You deport him to El Salvador, right? Why are we going to go through all this rigmarole? Now, look, I can get it. Maybe the idea is, we don't want to deport him to a prison. Just send him back to his country. I think at this point, though, they can't actually just let him go free because somebody's going to pick him up in El Salvador. He's probably going to get hurt or worse, and therefore then it's going to get turned back on the Trump administration. So they're keeping him safe. He's probably, doing just fine in some other kind of prison. He's not in the really bad one. They moved him out of that. In the meantime, we've got this whole thing going on with the Supreme Court, which I got to tell you is a bit of a showdown at this point. You've got these illegal Venezuelans here in this country that are believed to have an association with a group that the administration is deeming a threat to the country, TDA, and the Supreme Court now blocked an order over the weekend that would have allowed for their deportations using that 18th century wartime law, basically the 1798 Aliens Act, which enables the President of the United States and the Secretary of State to say, okay, you know what, these people are threats to our country, and as a result of that, we are going to deport them because they represent a direct assault to us. Now, in the brief order, the court directed the Trump administration not to remove the Venezuelans held there in Texas at the detention center until, quote, further order of this court. It is just temporary. You had Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito dissenting in this one, basically it came from the ACLU, right? They had gone in and they were contending that the immigration authorities appeared to be basically moving people out of the country on the Aliens Act, Enemy Act 1798, and they said they can't do that, even though, of course, the Supreme Court said they could. And that's actually what Stephen Miller was just explaining. So what's bizarre to me in this case is you now have the Supreme Court almost re-examining its own decision. I get that it's only temporary, etc., but I think that this is creating a murkiness that is unnecessary. Either you have this Aliens Enemy Act of 1798 or you don't. Which is it, Supreme Court? Miller was kind of ticked off on this one too.
You have, in this case, illegal aliens from Venezuela sent here by Maduro who are members of a foreign terrorist organization, Tren de Aragua, an organization that the intelligence community has found is operating at the direction of a hostile, adversarial foreign regime carrying out criminal enterprises to destabilize the political system in the United States. Those are the facts when it comes to TDA. So they're all illegal, they're all gang members, they're all foreign terrorists. And now we are being told that they cannot be expelled from our country without an extraordinary amount of individualized adjudication at the district court, circuit court, Supreme Court, up and down, up and down, up and down. No American citizen receives this level of so-called due process. Because it isn't due process. This is called infinity process to keep you here forever. Yeah. That's what this is.
Oh no, it's crazy.
No American citizen charged with a crime, with a serious crime inside the United States, a U.S.-born American citizen receives this kind of process. Millions of dollars in free legal services, representation at every single level. I mean, do you think that there is any, for example, any American citizen who was persecuted, who was innocent related to January 6th? Do you think they could just get this kind of relief, this kind of process? No. It was never available to them. Yeah. The whole system was rigged against them, just like it's rigged in favor of illegal alien invaders.
You know, you gotta hear him out on that one, right? Because you think about where we are in this moment in time, what we went through, for example, with J6, and those people not being able to get any, like, it was just bureaucracy on steroids. And now suddenly everything gets expedited right up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, oh, okay, we're going to wait on this one. Like, what is going on? Someone is here illegally. Then they are believed or suspected to have committed a crime, and you can't deport them? Like, you lost me, all right? What do you think you have laws and borders for? This is happening in New Hampshire right now, my home state. Take a look at this, everyone. Wow. Chinese non-residents guilty of hacking and stealing millions of dollars worth of gift cards. That's a new one. They got millions of dollars worth of gift cards, then they went in and bought stuff from retailers and electronics, sent all that stuff back home to China. And so they were discovered, they were found out. You have the U.S. Attorney's Office in the district of my little home state of New Hampshire picking these guys up and sentencing them to federal prison for participating in a fraudulent gift card conspiracy involving the purchase and exports of Apple products to China. So these Chinese nationals were here, in some cases, unlawfully, okay? Maxine Wu, 26 years old, Chinese national, unlawfully residing in Nashua, gets 33 months in prison and 1 year of supervised release. Another one residing in Nashua was sentenced by the judge to 60 months in prison, 1 year of supervised release. Then you get a 28-year-old, a Chinese national, unlawfully residing in Brooklyn, New York, was sentenced by the judge to 24 months in prison and 1 year of supervised release. Earlier this year, the defendants each pled guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. All three defendants faced deportation to China after completing their sentences. Excuse me? So they're here illegally. They commit a crime. They go to jail where they get 3 squares a day and, exercise and, knitting programs and the whole bit, courtesy of the New York, well, in this case, federal taxpayer, New Hampshire, New York, but these are federal prisons that they're going to. So I'm sorry, like, why aren't they just gone out of the country? No longer our responsibility and no longer allowed back in. Like, there's some kind of messed up breakdown here. Once you come here, like, you don't have to leave. You're entitled to all these processes before you actually are sent home, and you get to break the law, and then you get to go to prison here in the U.S. I mean, come on. All right, like, that has to change. It will change. It has to change. You get a lot of people that are working on it right now. Sometimes we think it can't happen fast enough, right? Quick shout out to the markets. We love this. Did you see the stock market today? Did you see? We're getting ready to close here on the Dow. We're looking at 1% of an increase. S&P up nearly 2%. NASDAQ up over 2%. So this is really, really some exciting stuff. I mean, this is third day of major gains. So we love seeing that. You can learn more about the markets at my website, 76research.com. Use code word dollar so you can get the 76 report for just $1 a month for the first 2 months.